Good afternoon and welcome to Probate Court 2 virtually. I am trying to open up everything so I can make sure everybody's with us. I know that our court reporter is not on Zoom yet. And counsel, I'll let you know that Jonathan Dodson is an intern with our court. He just finished his first year at Texas A&M. So that is who you see on the screen that you may not know. And I will remind you too, we are live streaming on social media. I think what I've seen is we needed Ms. Hart, Mr. Griffith, and Ms. Blink. Mr. Cochran, are you here for the guardianship of Lee William Farlow?
Your Honor, I just got a notice to be here, so
we don't have audio, Mr. Cochran. Or you've got it too far down. Now, okay, you're unmuted, but we still can't hear you.
Oh.
I can't, you know what? I think it's mine.
Oh.
I think something.
I can hear him, Your Honor.
On mine and made it real loud, so I turned it down. So hold on a second. Yeah, my audio got turned off. All right. Go ahead, Mr. Cochran.
I basically represent his ex-wife. I was trying to get some agreement signed with Mr. Farlow to modify their child custody order. And I talked to Mr. Griffin about it. Then I got this notice. I wasn't sure exactly what my role is. I think the parties have an agreement, but I need someone who can sign off on it. There's an agreement that lets my client move to a different county with the kids.
Okay, that is definitely not before us today. The only thing before us today is a restoration, or alternative is modification. So you probably received notice because they send it to everybody. But you're free to go.
Okay, well, that's fine. I didn't want to, not be here when I'm told to be here. So
I appreciate that.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Cut out.
All right, we have our court reporter now.
Trying to leave. It won't leave. Here we go.
Okay. Kristen, can you turn your screen? There you go. Okay, is everybody ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Link, was that you standing up? You're muted. Hold on. Okay, you're gonna have to unmute yourself from your computer, Ms. Link. Okay. All right, Ms. Link, would you like to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Hold on. Okay, our court reporter's having feedback. I don't think y'all can hear her because I muted her. Well, that's why I muted you. So I don't know how to fix that. I can't mute myself. So you're not hearing anything through your computer?
I am, but there's a delay.
Well, that's Zoom. We can't do anything about that. Sometimes it'll freeze up. Sometimes people will drop off and they'll come back. Half the time, especially with the masks, I don't know who's talking. That's just, it's our judicial system right now. And unfortunately, I think they're trying to fundamentally change it. So you want to go in a different room and set up? Okay. Okay. We're going to take about a 3-minute break and we'll be back.
Okay. I'll go to the restroom. Sounds okay? Yes, that is fine.
Hey, Bonnie, can you hear me?
Yes, down elevators on the left. Yes, Ross.
Hey, I was just going to check out while we're sitting here. Why don't you go ahead and talk just from back where you are, and I just was going to see if I could hear the audio well.
Okay, can you hear me like this?
Yeah, that's good. Good. Okay, that's all I was looking for.
On the screen, I can't tell because my screen is so little and we're so far away.
You can see that. You can see everybody at the table. I mean, you can't really. You're behind mask, so you can't tell who's talking. But I know your voice, so that works. I think that works well.
Okay, sounds.
And that was Carolyn sitting across from you, correct? That just walked out.
Red, yes.
Okay.
Poor Mr. Cochran, I think he got all excited. And
I hadn't really heard anything from him, and my own approach to that was just going to be to wait until one, to see what happens in this hearing, and then two, you know, deal with it going from there. And if we're dealing with that, my partner Thomas is going to, since it's family law stuff, I'm going to get him to help us. So
absolutely, that family law, I just readily admit, been a long time. Don't remember a whole lot.
Hey, Lee, do you want to say something so we can test your audio?
Sure. How are you today?
Okay, that's loud and clear for me. I'm good. How are you?
Good. Today's my birthday.
So we're hoping for a good birthday.
Yes.
And Elizabeth, we have Joey Bain. I don't know if you can see him. He's got on his camouflage, so he might be hard to spot.
So happy birthday, Lee. I'm looking at one of my reports to verify that that is correct. Wow.
You know your birthday.
Yes, I do. Yay.
Clearly I don't.
Yeah, I think this would be a fantastic thing. Yeah. So we'll do our best here today.
All right. What? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, next year, 5th floor.
As well. Not 52. I was thinking. Even turned 51. Okay. No, wait a minute. No, I turned 50. We went to Vermont. Okay. It is. At least 50. Every week. October. Yes. I was able to do something Saturday. I thought he'd leave the 24th. I thought he'd leave Friday. For Chicago. Have you seen the house? Yeah, he sent me one in Chicago. Yeah. He sent me.
Okay, so Ross helped us do a little test, and then Elizabeth Hart with the court, she's our court investigator, she chimed in. So I think as long as we just make sure we speak clearly, look at the camera. I don't know how we'll identify when we're talking, except maybe, I don't know, I guess we'll figure it out. And then I'm gonna ask Elena to swear all three of you in all at once, so that she can get back to the mountain paperwork on her desk.
Hello?
Then I won't mess you up. Let you do your thing.
Are you still getting feedback or is it working now?
I think it's working now. I'm
Good.
ready whenever you all are. Thanks, Your Honor.
We're still,
Ms. Link, you can go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. So real quickly, I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping so that, because we're all in the same room, and I have to my right with the camouflage mask is Joseph Bain. Across from him in the blue shirt is Lee Farlow, and to Lee's right in the red dress and beige mask is Carolyn Summers. And I'm wearing green, so right here. Your Honor, on March the 8th of 2019, Lee Farlow wrote a letter to the court stating that he no longer needs a guardian. He filed that letter with the court on March 20th of 2019. And on February 10th of 2020, Lee Farlow filed his application for complete restoration of his capacity or modification of his guardianship pursuant to section 1202.051 of the Estates Code. Today, Mr. Farlow will show the court that he is recovered from the frontal strokes that he suffered on April 17th of 2004. Deficit for him and the need at that time for a guardianship of the person and estate. Since Mr. Farlow has recovered from his physical condition and his mental condition is stable and in all probability continuing to improve, we'll show the court that he is substantially able to provide shelter for himself, to make personal decisions regarding his residence, and to care for his own physical health. He will also show the court that he is able to manage his own financial affairs. Mr. Farlow also understands that should the court restore his capacity, he will no longer be disqualified from possessing or receiving a firearm, and that the state of Texas is required to update and remove obsolete records in the NICS pursuant to the restoration of his capacity. He will show the court that his incapacity did not result from a mental condition, but from a physical condition. However, should the court find that his incapacity did result from a mental condition, Mr. Farlow will show that his mental capacity is completely restored because his body has healed itself. His brain has remapped its injury from the strokes he suffered. So at this time, Your Honor, so that my paralegal may get on with her day and back to work, could I ask that she swear in all three people, Carolyn Summers, Lee Farlow, and Joseph Bain, so that they may testify when I call them.
Yes, if you'll all please raise your right hand. And if you'll ask them if they swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help them God.
Do you swear to tell the whole truth? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay. Can you look at me and let me know if you do indeed swear that?
I do.
I do. I do.
All right, thank you. Sorry, I can't tell if I'm talking when, and so if you'll look at me, that will help. Thank you.
Your Honor, I did not see a response from the third witness. I saw that Carolyn and Lee both did, and I can't remember the name of the other witness, but did he respond?
He did.
Okay.
Your Honor, I would like to call Lee Farlow to testify.
Okay.
Mr. Farlow, are you sitting across the table, catty corner from me, wearing a blue shirt?
Yes, I am.
And I'm going to move. Your Honor, may I move? I might move out of your field of vision, but I want to move myself so that we can face the microphone.
Yes, I will just remind counsel, and I'm going to remind the witnesses. You cannot prompt each other. Someone can not tell you what to say. To the other witnesses that are sitting with him, I know there might be a temptation to say, oh, wait, no, remember this. That cannot happen. And it happens all the time in Zoom. It should not happen. in a court of law. So please don't do that. And Ms. Link, I'm not going to be able to see you, but I'm going to trust that you're not going to be prompting your witness as well as an officer of the court.
Well, Your Honor, I'm more than happy to switch places with Mr. Bain so that Lee can look more across at me instead of with the back of his head to you.
Well, I think it's going to be better if he's actually looking at the camera and looking at you. So like I said, you're an officer of the court and I'm going to trust you. I have no reason not to trust you, Ms. Link. I just wanted to put that out there to remind everyone, especially for our witnesses, because it happens a lot because we're not in the formal setting and that's
I
what happens.
appreciate that, Your Honor. Absolutely. Mr. Farlow, would you please state your name for the court?
Lee William Farlow.
And do you live at 5100 Crown Road in Fort Worth,
Yes,
Texas?
I do.
Is 5100 Crown Road in Tarrant County?
Yes, it is.
And would you just, in a few sentences, 3 or 4, describe the house where you live?
It's a 1-story, 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom room house. And I've lived there for 40-something years.
So it was your childhood home?
Yes,
And on approximately how large is the lot?
probably an acre.
Okay. And does anyone live with you?
No.
And how long have you lived there by yourself?
About 2 months now.
And prior to 2 months ago, were your parents living with you?
Yes, they were.
Okay. Let's think back to when they stopped living with you.
All right.
Now, the information I have is that they moved to an assisted living center probably last September, almost a year ago. Is that true?
That's probably true.
Okay. So would it be correct to say that you actually lived by yourself starting probably end of last September, maybe even October 2019?
Probably so, yes.
Okay. And so when you filed this application in February of 2019, were you living by yourself?
I was.
Okay. Now, I think you hit kind of a rough patch in March.
Yes.
Do you want to kind of briefly state to the court a couple of things that happened to you in March?
Yes, I was working at food pantry and where I volunteer, and I was taking out the recycling, and I slipped and fell and landed on my backside and broke my pelvis in 6 different places. Was then taken to the doctor's office, and the doctor says, "Yep, you broke it. We're going to need to do surgery." And so he said, "We're going to have some surgery for you." And so they molded my pelvis back together.
Okay. Now, when you left the hospital after that procedure, did you go straight back to your house and stay alone? Where did you go?
I went to my sister's house.
Okay. And so about how long did you stay at your sister's?
About 2 months.
Okay. So you moved back into your home end of May, beginning of June?
Probably so, yes.
Okay. Now, something else very tragic happened in your life in March. You want
My
to tell?
father died.
I'm sorry, I was talking over you. Could you repeat that?
My father died.
Okay. Is your mother still with us?
She's still alive.
Okay. And where is she?
She is actually still in Riverside Inn.
Okay. Is that an assisted living center?
It's a care facility
Okay.
for Alzheimer's and dementia.
Is that why she's there?
Yes,
But technically, is she still your guardian of your person?
I believe she is.
Is she here today in this room?
No, she's not.
Did you talk to her about this hearing today?
No.
Okay. Now your other guardian, Carolyn Summers, she's the guardian of your estate, correct?
Correct.
And is she here today?
Yes, she is.
And is she also your sister?
Yes, she is.
Is she the only sibling that you have?
She is.
And do you have a good relationship with her?
A great relationship.
Do you think that you need your mom to continue on as your guardian?
No.
Do you think that you need your sister to continue on as your guardian?
No.
Excuse me, Your Honor. And I will apologize and welcome any recommendations or direct submitted evidence of a remote hearing before. So, Mr. Farlow, yesterday, I filed an exhibit list with, I believe, 14 exhibits on it. And so, Your Honor, these have been provided to the court and the court reporter, and I believe Mr. Griffith and
I do have a full set of them, Your Honor, and I printed them all.
I have an exhibit list. Well, it's titled exhibit list. Okay, I think it's, yeah, it's got all the exhibits. Okay.
Mr. Farlow, I'm going to show you what has been marked as Exhibit 1, and Mr. Griffith has a copy, and I believe the court has a copy. Do you recognize that document?
I do.
And would you briefly describe that document to us?
It's saying that I'm in a sound mind, believe I no longer need a guardian anymore.
And is that document written in your own handwriting?
Yes, it is.
And is there a file mark with a date in the upper right-hand corner?
Yes, it is.
Or I guess off to the right side.
Right. It was filed March 20th of 2019.
And did you file that with the court?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would like to offer the document marked Exhibit 1 into evidence.
Mr. Griffith, is there any objections to any of the exhibits, or are there any objections?
They're not, Your Honor. I've reviewed all of the exhibits and there are no objections to any of them.
Okay, Ms. Link, would you like to offer them all?
Absolutely.
All right, they're all admitted.
Thank you. Okay. So, Mr. Farlow, you've read Exhibit 1 aloud to the court. Do you still believe that you're of sound mind?
Yes, I do.
And on February 5th, 2020, were you the person who signed the application to restore your capacity or modify your guardianship?
Yes, it was.
And did you review that document before you signed it?
Yes, I did.
And are you here today to request the court to restore your capacity as to your person and estate?
Yes, I am.
And if the court restores your capacity, do you request that the court issue an order for relief from the firearms disability described by section 1202.201A of the Estates Code?
Yes.
And if the court does not restore your capacity, do you request that your guardianship be modified to restore all of your rights as you requested in your application?
Yes, I did.
I'm going to show you what has been marked and admitted as exhibit number 2.
Okay.
And would you please tell the court what that document is?
This is my Social Security Administration, retirement, survivors, disability insurance. It talks about my ex-wife and I.
And would you read the first line in the body of the letter?
Lee W. Farlow is entitled to monthly disabled benefits beginning October 2004.
And do you receive those benefits to this day? And can you tell the court approximately how much your benefits are each month?
Yes, $1,500 a month.
Okay. And are you your own representative payee?
Yes.
No. And what do you do with your disability benefits?
I pay my rent. I pay electricity. I also pay for food and going out to
Okay.
eat.
Do you have a cell phone?
I do. I pay for that too.
Okay. And do you have a pre-need burial plan?
Yes, I do. I pay for that too.
Okay. Is that set up on an auto draft?
Yes, it is.
And do you ever give your son or daughter any gas money or spending money each month?
I do not.
Now, you carry cash with you?
Yes, I do.
And without being too specific or revealing too many of your secrets, do you have a safe place in your home where you can keep cash?
Yes,
Okay. And do you ever use a debit card?
I do.
Do you ever write checks?
Not anymore.
Okay. Now, is this money coming that you're using your debit card for? Is it coming from a checking account?
Yes.
And do you have a savings account?
I do.
And do you have any kind of protection?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Do you know if your savings account is linked to your checking
I
account?
believe it is.
Okay. Have you ever needed to use the money from your savings account because you accidentally spent too much money out of your checking? Do you balance your own checkbook?
I do.
And is the only money deposited normally deposited into your checking account, is that your Social Security benefit?
Yes.
Do you ever need to get money from the guardian of your estate, Carolyn Summers?
I didn't hear that answer.
No, I don't.
So as the guardian of your estate, what does Mrs. Summers do? In your day-to-day life?
In my day-to-day life, she goes and gets me groceries when I need it. And takes me shopping if I need to go shopping. Takes me to appointments. Things like that.
Okay. As far as money goes, does she pay any of your bills?
No.
Do you ever discuss with anyone what bills to pay or how to pay them?
Yes, I meet with my brother-in-law, who is her husband.
And that's Brian Summers?
Brian Summers.
Okay.
And he and I discuss about what bills are coming up.
About how frequently do y'all get together and have a financial meeting?
About once a month.
Okay. And do you know how much money is in your estate that Ms. Summers is watching over for you?
Roughly $500,000.
Okay. Now, if the guardianship of your estate is closed and your capacity is restored, what do you plan on doing with that money?
Saving it for my retirement.
Okay. Would you want to grow the money and make even more money with
Yes.
it? Okay.
Invest it wisely.
Okay. Now, given the way things go in our society, and I can say this because I'm an attorney, sometimes people get all excited and they start suing each other. If someone were to sue you, you would have a lot of money available to them to try to get. What would you do to protect your money so that if someone just filed a lawsuit against you, they couldn't easily get to it?
A trustee.
So you would create a trust?
Yes.
So I'm going to show you, Mr. Farlow, the document that we've marked as Exhibit 12. Would you read the title of that document?
The Lee W. Farlow Irrevocable Living Trust.
Okay. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, I do.
Is this a document that you and I talked about in the past?
Yes, it is.
And after I drafted this document, based on our discussions, did I send this document to you?
Yes, you did.
Okay. And did you review it?
I did.
Did you discuss this document? Did you talk to Brian Summers about it?
Yes, I did. I'm sorry.
Okay. And did you talk to Carolyn Summers? All right. Now, let's talk about Ms. Summers.
Okay.
I believe that you have put in the document. Well, before we get to that, can you turn to page 7 of that document? And look at paragraph 12.
Okay. Irrevocable or revocability or irrevocability of trust.
Okay. So do you understand that paragraph makes the trust as permanent as we can make it without the court finding some way to break or dissolve the trust?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so if you sign that document
Yes, I do.
and you put money in that trust, you can't just change your mind 2 weeks from now,
Right.
okay? And you're okay with that? And is your plan to, if the court were to restore your capacity, close your guardianship, is your plan to continue to live on your Social Security disability? Yeah, I need you to say a word because our court reporter
Yes,
listens. Okay. Your plan is to continue to live on your disability
right,
and put the money from your guardianship estate into this trust.
yes.
And who is the trustee, and it'll be on page 1 at the top, that you have chosen to be your trustee?
Carolyn S. Summers,
And why did you pick Carolyn Summers to be your trustee?
because she did a remarkable job during the earlier part where she was my trustee of the person.
The guardian of your estate?
Guardian person, yes. Of the
Okay.
estate.
Okay. So are you confident that she'll go ahead and do this?
Yes,
Okay.
very confident.
And do you believe that she will be able to uphold her duty as a fiduciary and protect your money and grow your money?
Yes, I do.
Do you have any doubt that she would not do that?
No, I have no doubt.
Okay. Now, if you, and I'm gonna have to stand up, Your Honor, and go look at this trust. If we turn to start at the beginning. No, I'm just gonna. There we go. On page 8, paragraph 15, we have put a paragraph in there to have what we called trust protectors.
Yes,
And who are those people that we've named as trust protectors?
trust protectors shall include 5 trust protectors: Lee William Farlow, Joey Bain, Paul Booth, Paul Boynton, and Eric Painter.
Okay,
In the event of a declination, death, failure, removal, resignation, or inability of a person to serve as trust protector, the remaining trust protector shall appoint another person or corporation to fill the vacancy created in such death, resignation, removal, declination, or inability to serve as trust protectors.
so these trust protectors, do they serve as a sort of committee?
Yes,
Okay, and if they want to, can they vote to remove a trustee?
I believe so.
Okay, so if they see that they're not doing what they should be doing, this committee can get together and remove them.
Right.
Now, let's say that the trustee says, I can't do this anymore. I need to do something else, and I need someone to take my place. Does this trust protector committee have the ability to elect or appoint a new trustee to your trust?
Yes, they do.
Okay. Now, there's 5 people, so there shouldn't be a tie.
Right.
And are you comfortable with all these people
Yes.
serving? Very briefly, tell me who these people are.
Starting off with the first one's me,
Okay.
Joey Bain, my second one.
And he's here today. How long have you known Joey Bain?
I've known Joey since 3rd grade.
Okay. And who's the next person?
Paul Booth, I've known him since we were little. We played t-ball together.
Okay.
Paul Boynton, which is his cousin, and I met him through Joey when he moved back to Texas.
Okay. Was that about college age?
Probably so, yeah.
Okay.
And then Eric Painter, my best friend since 4th grade.
Okay. Now, was Eric the person you went through Boy Scouts with?
No.
Was that Paul Booth?
No.
Paul Boynton? No. Who did you go through Boy Scouts with?
By myself.
No, I mean, didn't you have a buddy, y'all were both in the Boy Scouts, and you went on to be an Eagle Scout, and he decided he wasn't going to do it? All right. Well, I'm thinking of something else. I apologize. Okay, so we have this trust. So now let's talk about how you can do things that demonstrate, or I need to have you tell the court how you can do things that demonstrate how you can how you don't need a guardianship and your capacity should be restored. So I'm going to get my estates code
All right.
because I'm going to turn to a section and I'm going to ask you to read this part of the estates code because we're going to talk about it a fair amount. And this is section 1002.017 of the estates code. Right there. So if you'll read, just read right here.
Incapacitated person means a minor, an adult who, because of physical or mental condition, is substantially unable to provide food, clothing, and shelter for himself or herself, care for a person's own physical health, or manage a person's own financial affairs.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I think you come to number 3.
Yes.
Okay. Number 3 doesn't apply to you.
Okay.
So we'll just stop right there.
All right.
So now let's talk about this. I just need you to give the court examples of how you provide clothing and shelter for yourself. So let's talk about food.
Okay.
You mentioned earlier that your sister will buy groceries for
Yes.
you.
I make a list for her on my phone and then I send it to her.
Okay.
And then she goes out and shops for me. And it's on my food and then she'll bring it over to the house and I'll help her bring it in and put it away.
Okay. Now let's talk about what you do when it's time to eat.
I go in the kitchen, take out my food out of the refrigerator, take it and put it in the microwave, prepare it, and then sit down and eat it.
Okay. Now, let's talk, and what if you go out to eat? Well, we hardly go out to eat anymore, but back when you could freely go out to eat, tell us about going out to eat. Let's say you and your friend, Joey Bain, decided to go have lunch together.
All right. I would call him and make sure what time we were going to go, and then figure out where we're going to go, and decide who's going to pay. And then he'd come pick me up when we go.
Okay. Now, when you got to the restaurant, did you read the menu? Did you order for yourself? Tell us about that.
I would read the menu and order for myself.
Okay. All right, let's move on to clothing. Tell us about buying clothes, taking care of clothes, getting dressed, all that fun stuff that has to do with clothes.
I have quite a wardrobe and I don't need to go shopping. I don't need to for clothes. I do my own laundry. Basically, I take care of myself.
Okay, so do you pick out your own clothes every day?
Clothes every day.
All right, so you decide whether or not to wear something like you have on today or whether you might need a coat or a rain jacket.
Correct.
Okay. Now, what about clothing that might need dry cleaning or special care?
I really don't own any special care clothing. I
Okay,
have one pair of pants that needs to go to the laundry, or the cleaners, but hardly ever wear them.
okay, but you would know which pants those were and how to take care of them.
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about shelter.
Okay.
You've kind of described your house, but I
Yes.
want to go into more detail.
Okay.
Who cleans your house?
I clean it on a daily basis, but I also have a maid comes in every 2 weeks and does the heavy cleaning, vacuuming and dusting, things like that.
Okay, now how long has the maid been coming every 2 weeks?
We've had her for 15 years.
Okay, so you know her and
Yes.
she knows you,
Yes.
and she knew your parents before. And there's never been any issues with anything other than she's a wonderful person who cleans your house very well.
Yes.
Okay. What about, you said you live on almost an acre. How do you take care of the yard?
Her boyfriend comes over and he takes care of the yard.
And by her, you mean the maid?
The maid, yes.
Okay. So how long has he been taking care of the yard?
Probably since I couldn't do it back in February,
Okay, so were you maintaining the yard?
I was maintaining the yard.
So did you mow the yard with the
Well,
mower
edged.
and edged? Okay, so with the weed eater type
Yes.
thing? Okay, and when you fell at the food pantry, is that when you had to stop doing that?
Yes.
All right. What about watering the yard?
We have an automatic watering system, and it's set to go. All I have to do is push a button.
Okay, now did you program that or did
Yes.
someone else? Okay, and if it malfunctions or there's a problem, what do you do?
I have a person to call.
Let's talk about your physical health.
Okay.
So if you get sick, what do you do? Or let's say you slip and fall while you're volunteering, what do you do?
I asked someone to take me to the doctors.
Okay. Do you take your guardian with you to the doctor?
She would probably drive me, yes.
That would be Carolyn
Carolyn
Summers.
Yes.
Okay. But your mother, who's your guardian of your person, she doesn't go with you to the doctor?
No.
Okay. When you go into the doctor's office, who fills out your forms?
I do.
And do you sign everything?
I do.
And when you talk to the doctor, are you the only person, other than maybe a nurse, in the room?
Probably so.
Okay. Has the doctor ever said to you, I'm going to need to talk to your guardian about this as well?
No.
Okay. Now, do you take any medications?
I do.
And where do you get these medications from?
I get them from a mail order.
And how do you know when you need more medication?
It will automatically renew.
Okay. So when the medication, I'm guessing it comes in the mail,
Yes.
what do you do with all the pill bottles that you get?
I keep them in a special place. I have a pill sorter.
Okay.
And every week, I sort out my pills for the week.
Okay. Now, does your medication require that you take some in the morning, some around noon, and some in the evening?
Yes.
So you know how to sort the medication into the proper space?
Yes.
And how long have you been doing that?
Long time.
Would you say longer than a year?
Probably 10 years.
10 years. Okay. And how frequently do you typically see the doctor?
Every 6 months.
Okay. And who makes that appointment?
I would call and make an appointment for myself.
And how do you remember to go to the doctor?
My phone.
So you set some type of,
alert
on-
my phone.
okay. And how do you physically get to the doctor's office?
I would call either my sister or a friend and set up a ride.
Right. What about the dentist?
Same thing. I would call either a friend or my sister to take me to the dentist.
Okay. And you would handle all the appointment making and keep up with the reminder?
Yes.
Sorry, Your Honor, I was gesturing for my witness to actually speak instead of nodding. I was coaching him, I apologize. So, Mr. Farlow, if you wake up in the middle of the night and you just don't feel right, let's say you're short of breath, your stomach hurts, you're sweating, but you're cold, what do you do?
Call 911.
Okay. Let's talk about your family affairs. We did discuss that earlier.
Yes, we did.
Okay. But I want to talk more now about, let's just be honest. You have money.
Right.
People who don't have money tend to want people who do have money to give them money.
Right.
Have you ever thought about that? What would you do if someone asked you, hey, Lee, can I get can you give me a couple bucks?
If it's a couple bucks, I would think about it.
Okay.
If it was more than I felt comfortable with, I would say, look, I have a trust. And you talk to my trustee.
Okay. What about if it's one of your good friends, like someone that you've known for a long time, and they came up to you and said, hey, I'm kind of in a tight spot and I think I need, maybe $500, maybe $1,000, it'll get me through.
I'd say, I'm sorry, I need to talk to my trustee.
Okay. What about if it was one of your kids?
Same thing.
Okay. Now let's talk about your kids. Your son, Andrew,
Yes,
he's 18 now.
correct.
He's an adult. Can you
Right.
tell us what he's doing?
He is going to be a freshman at Texas A&M University down in College Station. He hasn't decided if he's going to live on campus or stay in Houston and take classes, because he and I were talking about that today. He said, Dad, I don't know if I need to be down on campus around all those people if I don't go to class. If I'm taking classes online, I might as well stay home.
And he lives with his mother in the Houston area?
Yes.
Okay. What do you think about that comment that he made?
I thought it was very insightful. I thought he was really thinking, and he's growing up, and he's an adult now, so he can make his own decisions.
Okay. Now, what if he looked at you and said something like, oh, college, it's so expensive and this and that. Can you help me out, Dad? What could you do for him?
I could say, well, son, we have all the money that you need through your mother. We set that up, and she has plenty of money, and so she can help you with that. So you need to talk to her. I cannot help you with that.
And this money that you're referencing, does it have to do with the settlement from your injury
Correct.
and also the settlement from your divorce?
Right.
Okay. Now, what about giving, and I'm not talking about your daughter Lauren on purpose, but she's a minor, so I'm just going to really mostly talk about your son Andrew because he's an adult. But I'm guessing this would apply pretty much to both your kids.
Correct.
Okay. So what about things like birthdays and Christmases and that kind of stuff? How would you see yourself celebrating that with your kids as far as gift giving?
I do give them some money on their birthdays and Christmas and things like that.
Okay. When you say some money, are we talking double digits, triple digits?
It depends. If it was a big thing like graduation, I would give them triple digits.
Okay. All right. Now, what if let's say your capacity is fully restored and you think, finally we're done with this weird coronavirus pandemic thing. The kids have some time off. Let's go somewhere. Who would pay for that?
I probably would.
Okay. What kind of trip would you have in mind?
Something where we can all enjoy, be safe, be educational.
Okay. So like a family trip to Disneyland or
Probably so.
something along those
Yeah,
lines?
something along those lines.
Okay. All right. So we've talked about your financial affairs. I just want to ask you though, do you understand that the money in your guardianship right now, it probably is it for your retirement?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And I believe when you and I met on Monday and your guardian of your estate, your sister, Carolyn Summers, she was there as well.
Right.
I gave you two names of two investment people that I believe are trustworthy and actually extremely good at what they do.
Yes.
So if you, as a trust protector, I apologize, I don't know how to turn that off. If you as a trust protector, one of the trust protectors, would you discuss who your trustee is investing your money with?
Yes, I would.
Okay. And do you feel like your sister Carolyn would listen and would make a sound decision to invest your money to grow it as much as possible?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Now I'm gonna look at mine. Okay. So let's talk about, excuse me here, Your Honor, I'm gonna grab this. Let's talk about what got you into this guardianship in the first place.
Okay.
And I'm going to look at a document that we've marked as there it is. 11, I'm gonna hand you that. Can you tell the court what that document is?
It's saying that the Tarrant County Probate Court, the physician, proposed ward, which is me, Lee Farlow, examination date of November of '04.
Okay. So go to the very bottom of that page. Does it talk about a physical diagnosis?
Medical history related to the incapacity, physical diagnosis related to incapacity. 2 frontal strokes, severe.
Okay. Now, I'll take that back. Prior to you having these frontal strokes, what did you do?
I was a banker in college and decided I didn't want to be a banker anymore. Got married, had children, and we decided that someone needed to stay home with children. And so I said, well, I don't make as much money as my wife does. I would love to stay home and help the children. So she and I agreed for me to be a stay-at-home dad.
Okay. Now, how old were your children did you take care of them basically from birth?
I took care of Andrew for the first 2 years of life.
Okay. And after he turned 2, what was the plan?
The plan was for me to keep on taking care of him.
Okay.
We had my daughter, and then I had my stroke.
Okay.
And so I wasn't able to take care of her. And we had to move back in with my parents
Okay.
to help.
But before you had your stroke, you
Yes.
were a dad who was married with kids. You'd had a job and a career.
Yes.
Did you play basketball? Did you run? What was your physical activity?
I ran with Joy Bain. We ran a few races together. I also like to play golf, basketball, played that in high school.
Did you have any limitations or any mental issues that prevented you from living a full life just like any other person?
No, I did not.
Okay. Did you have any special help or assistance?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so would these frontal strokes that you had, were they related to a surgery?
Yes.
So if you hadn't had that surgery, would you say that you would have kept on being a stay-at-home dad and running races and playing golf and?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so no reason to think that anything in your life would have gone wrong.
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna hand you what has been listed here as Exhibit 3. And on Exhibit 3, I'm gonna ask you to tell us what it is and then turn to page 2 and tell us what the physical diagnosis is that's listed.
This is the matter of guardianship for Leroy and Farlow incapacitated person. Medical determination for restoring of ward's capacity or modification of guardianship. Signed by my doctor, Stephen Edward Johnson, on March 25th of 2019.
So a little more than a year ago.
Yes.
Okay, so if you'll turn to page 2,
Uh-huh.
about in the middle of the page, it talks about physical diagnoses, and I think he's listed, 4? Read
Yes.
his handwriting.
Brain abscess in 2004, improved weakness. I'm on citalopram for depression. Expressive aphasia, mild. Confusion and hallucinations. That was it.
Okay, now I have to come and look at the page number because I don't remember what it is. If you'll flip back to page, going back. All right. Let's flip back to page 3. This is the most important part. So down in the bottom third of the page, the doctor has checked next to a paragraph. Can you read that paragraph next to the doctor's check mark?
Therefore, it is my opinion that the ward is not an incapacitated person, according to Texas State Code.
Okay. Now, above that, did the doctor say that you can provide, what did he say you can provide for yourself?
Food, clothing, shelter, and health,
And,
fiscal, financial affairs.
okay, did he say you were unable to provide something for yourself?
No.
Okay, now flip back to page 4. And at the top, and this is hard to read, but it's the first question. Can you read the first question?
Please state below how the ward's condition has improved, whereby a full guardianship may not be necessary.
Okay. Now, I don't know if you can read his handwriting. Can you read that?
I believe I can.
Okay.
Improved and able to make personal decisions. He tells me his family is in favor of this also. Taking care of own financial decisions. MME 2830 today.
Do you know what that MME means?
I do not.
Okay. All right. Now I would like to hand you another document, and this one we've marked as Exhibit 4.
Okay.
We're going to do a similar thing. That cover, the first page is a cover sheet from a fax.
Right.
So if you'll flip to the next page, can you tell us what this document is?
Documentation for restoring the ward's capacity or modification of guardianship.
Okay, and who filled this in? What's his name?
Stephen E. Johnson,
And on what date did he examine you?
10/29/2019.
Okay, so let's think about this. You had one from March of 2019, so April, May, June, July, August, September, end of October. That's 7 months.
Right.
7 months later, he makes another one of these.
Correct.
So let's turn the page. What does he put down kind of in the middle of the page? What does he put down as a physical diagnosis?
First one was aphasia, late effective stroke, mild, cognitive deficit due to old and cerebral.
That's hard to read.
Yeah. CVA. Mild, epilepsy, mild, good prognosis, cognitive defect.
Okay, and that's under the mental diagnosis.
Right.
Okay, so let's turn the page. Now we're on page 3. So look at paragraph 8, subsection A.
Provides himself or with assistance, food, yes, clothing, yes, shelter, yes, physical health, yes, manages financial affairs themselves or with assistance, yes. Therefore, it is my opinion the ward is not an incapacitated person. The Texas State Code, based on my response is yes to all items.
Okay. So we have these doctor's letters, and the code says that we'll only consider evidence that actually goes towards whether or not you should be restored or your guardianship should be modified. And if we know from your first doctor's letter that you had a physical diagnosis of frontal strokes, that's kind of what got you into this, right?
Correct.
And now it looks like your most recent doctor's letter, which we have here marked as Exhibit 4, it's saying that you've got some aphasia, but that's a late effect of your stroke,
Correct.
right? The stuff that's in your head, sometimes you know it's there, but you have to
Think about it.
think about it, a little difficulty maybe getting it out, although you've done wonderfully.
Thank you.
CVA with hemiparesis that's mild. Epilepsy, but it's good, it's treatable. And then he says you have a cognitive deficit due to an old cerebral infarct. So maybe you have a little something that has to do with those strokes or something. right?
Yes.
But still, your mental diagnosis, he's saying, is cognitive deficit, although he does not list any type of code.
Right.
There's no DSM-4 or 5, whatever we're on today, and I think they're on ICD-10 now. So we don't know exactly what that is. So let's continue to talk about this, because I want to move to exhibits, I guess, 5 through 10, and then also 13 and 14. And these, my little summary page. And I appreciate the court's patience with me. I have never done a hearing like this in my life. So my first one, I apologize. The next one hopefully will not happen, but if it does, it'll be better. Okay, so there's another section of the code that I want you to read, because this is really pertains to you. I'm going to hand you the state's code again. And this is section 1202.155. And I'm going to ask you to read subsection 3. And I put little pencil brackets around it.
If the ward's capacity resulted from a mental condition, that the ward's mental capacity is completely restored.
Okay. Mental condition and mental capacity. Well, we kind of have an issue here because I have looked through the code and I do not find an exact definition for mental condition in the estates code. And I don't find one for mental capacity. Got one for incapacitated person. Don't have one for mental capacity. So I went and looked up online, of course, all these definitions from the Merriam-Webster's dictionary online. Let's talk about how lay people define these words. And I think the first word we're going to start with is mental. Okay. So what I found in Exhibit 5 was that a mental means of or relating to the mind, specifically of or relating to the total emotional, intellectual response of an individual to external reality. What do you think? Does that sound fair?
Sounds fair.
I also found that it could mean of or relating to the mind, specifically, well, it's the same thing, of or relating to the total emotional and intellectual response of an individual to an external reality.
Yes.
So it has to do with the mind, something of or relating to the mind. Okay, so we got mental. So what's our next word that we're going to look at? It's going to be condition. So we go to Exhibit 6, and I can hand you this if you like, Lee, and you're welcome to follow along, although it's kind of hard to read. But here we go. If you turn to page 2 of Exhibit 6, one of the definitions is that a condition is a state of being, the human condition. So it's the state of being. If you go to page 6 of Exhibit 6, you see that it's something essential to the appearance or occurrence of something else. So we've got mental condition, of or relating to the mind, state of being, essential to the appearance or occurrence of something else. So you've got a mental condition.
Yes.
Okay. Then the next thing is but if your incapacity was from a mental condition, right? So let's talk about that here for a second. Dr. Kowalski in our Exhibit 11, paragraph 3, section AA, the physical diagnosis related to the incapacity is, and she has a B with a circle around that. And I'm going to guess it means bilateral, but I don't know that. So I'm just going to say there's a B with a circle around it. And then she wrote frontal strokes.
Correct.
Well, it does have to do with your mind because it's your brain, right? We think. But it was do you think that was a physical change to your brain? Or, I mean, tell me what you think.
Well, from what I was told, I had a sinus surgery, and they went in through my nose, to clear out my sinus cavity. And the doctor went too far, and with his scalpel pierced my brain, frontal lobe,
Okay,
causing a massive stroke. I had to learn how to do everything, walk, talk, eat. They did not expect me to survive the surgery.
so because your brain was physically damaged,
Yes.
it affected you in other ways.
Correct.
The talking, the walking, the speaking.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you think that what caused you to go into this guardianship, was it a physical condition, damage to your brain?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, let's keep going though. Let's look at mental capacity. So we have mental. We already know that mental is ever relating to the mind. But capacity, if we look at Exhibit 7, capacity, if you look on, I'll give this to you if you want to follow along. If you look on page 2, it talks about its capacity as a legal competency. Well, I don't know if that's what they meant here or not, but we're certainly in a court, so it has something to do with the legal proceedings. But if you go to page 5, I believe that's where Webster's says this is the medical definition. And it says power to grasp and analyze ideas and cope with problems. Mental capacity. So we've got ever relating to the mind, power to grasp and analyze ideas and cope with problems. Do you think that you have the ability to grasp and analyze an idea?
Yes, I do.
Okay, can you tell us, just tell us where you've had to figure something out?
Okay. If I was hungry, I would decide, hey, I need some food. And I'd go to the kitchen and I'd get some food, prepare it, and eat it.
Okay. What if you notice that the grass is getting a little too brown?
I would water the grass,
Okay.
turn on the sprinkler system.
Well, what if it doesn't work?
I would call my sprinkler guy.
Okay. And when he comes out to your house, then what do you do?
Ask him, tell him, I have a problem, my sprinkler system is not working, can you fix it for me?
Okay.
And he would say yes, and he would fix it for me,
Okay. How would you know that he fixed it for you?
because I'd ask him to run it.
Okay.
To show me that it was working.
So I think in telling us how you're able to grasp and analyze an idea, you've also demonstrated that you're able to cope with problems.
Yes.
What if you, let's say, you're volunteering or you have some appointment that you need to get to? What do you do?
I would first find out what time it is, and then see if I can get a ride via my sister, a friend, or Uber to the appointment.
Okay. What if your Uber just it doesn't show up? It's supposed to be here, doesn't show up. What do you do?
On a friend.
Okay. All right. So, but you're maintaining that it was a physical condition
Correct.
that got you into this guardianship.
Right.
So it was never a mental condition. Now, let's talk about the federal firearms prohibition under 18 USC section 922, subsection G, subsection 4. And I'm going to hand you a little summary I have made of that section of the United States Code. And I've underlined parts that I believe are pertinent to you. Would you like to read those parts?
Federal firearm protection under 18 USC. Persons adjudicated a mental defect. Any person who has adjudicated as a mental defect is prohibited under federal law from shipping, transporting, receiving, or possessing any firearm or ammunition. Violation of this federal offense is punishable by a fine of $250,000 and/or imprisonment up to 10 years. A person is adjudicated as a mental defect.
Okay, Mr. Farlow, Ms. Link, evidently our court reporter
Oh
connection.
dear.
So hold on a second. What's going on? Oh, okay, her phone went dead. So we'll be back in about 5 minutes, hopefully.
Perfect. We'll be here.
All right.
Okay. Thank you. Hold on, Ross. She's turning her phone on. I'm sorry? Okay. I can't hear you, but that's okay.
Kristen, you're muted, but let us know when you're ready.
Okay, I'm ready. I apologize for the delay. Thank you for your patience. I'm ready.
Okay,
And
are you
if I could ask, go
are
ahead.
you hearing us pretty well? Because when you were just talking, it sounded like this, and so I'm wondering if your cell phone's going to give us good, or give you reception.
Okay. Can you hear me better now?
Yes, you're not sounding late or.
Okay.
Okay.
I was wondering if Mr. Farlow could maybe move just a little bit closer to the microphone.
Miss Link?
Maybe
And Miss
she-
Link is frozen. Oh, there's Miss Link. Did you hear her?
You want Mr. Farlow to move closer?
Yes, if possible. I'm having a little bit of trouble hearing him.
Can you? We'll roll anything here. Okay. I'll move these out of our way.
All right. If you will please continue, Miss Link.
Okay, Your Honor, I'm not sure where the court reporter left off. If she could maybe read something.
Yes. Okay. I have that you were starting to talk about the code regarding firearm possession.
Okay.
And you were gonna, yes,
We're reading the federal statute regarding that.
Okay.
yes.
Okay, so Mr. Farlow, if you would just go ahead and just start up here at the top and just kind of read a summary of the federal firearms prohibition, 18 USC section 922 subsection G subsection 4.
Okay. Federal firearms prohibited under 18 USC subsection 922, Paragraph 4, persons adjudicated as a mental defective. Any person who has been adjudicated as a mental defective is prohibited under federal law from shipping, transporting, receiving, or possessing any firearm or ammunition. Violation of this federal offense is punishable by the fine of $250,000 and/or imprisonment up to 10 years. A person is adjudicated as a mental defective if a court has made a determination that a person, as a result of incompetent.
Ms. Link, you froze up. I didn't hear anything after being determined a mental defective, I think is what he said.
Okay, are we back?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
so if you'll start
Right there.
yes, right there.
A person is adjudicated as a mental defective if a court has made a determination that a person, as a result of I don't like that word, incapacity, condition, or disease, lacks the mental capacity or contract, or manages his own affairs.
What are some defenses that you can use so that you aren't found guilty? And if you read down here in the bottom part, there's a summary of the affirmative defenses.
Okay, affirmative defenses. A person is not prohibited under 18 subsection 922, paragraph 4, if the person.
Ms. Link, your connection is cutting in and out. I realize that maybe you're trying to make your record, but I can read the code, as can the Court of Appeals.
Okay, so we just like to note, Your Honor, then that we're aware that under the let's see, a state authority under relief from the disabilities program that meets requirement of the NICS Improvement Amendments Act of 2007, Public Law 110-180, is required to update, correct, modify, or remove a record from any database that the federal or state government maintains and makes available to the NICS consistent with rules pertaining to that database. And this just has to do with if Mr. Farlow's capacity is totally restored, we are asking the court to go ahead and ask the state to make those notifications so that the most current information is in both federal and state databases with regards to firearms, and Mr. Farlow doesn't accidentally find himself standing in a federal court wondering why someone's mad at him for, sitting in a car with a shotgun or something. That's the point.
I understand that that's what you're asking for.
Okay, we'll move on. So, a little outline here. So Lee, let's ask, did you have any kind of restrictions on your ability to buy a firearm or ammunition prior to you being in a guardianship?
No, I did not.
So the only reason you are not able to do that today is because of your guardianship.
Correct.
And prior to your guardianship, did you have any mental health issues?
No, ma'am.
Did you have any diagnoses for mental illness?
No, ma'am.
Did you have any medications that you took for mental illness?
No, ma'am.
Were you ever hospitalized due to a mental illness?
No, ma'am.
And did you have any kind of criminal history beyond something like a traffic ticket?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so no felonies,
No felonies.
nothing beyond, and I'm not a criminal lawyer, but nothing beyond a moving violation,
Correct.
something, okay. And describe your reputation in the community in general.
I would say it's very good. I'm a reader at St. Paul's Catholic Church. I attend church every week. I volunteer Meals on Wheels and food pantry at church. And I was the Eagle Scout. So I'm very aware of the law. and all that stuff.
So you feel like in your community, you have a good reputation.
Yes, ma'am.
And, you know, we talked about all this as if it was just before your guardianship, but even through your guardianship up to today,
Right.
all of this applies.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, still no mental health issues except as those related to the injury to the front of your brain.
Correct.
Okay. And no criminal history.
No, ma'am.
And you don't even drive a car anymore, do you?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Do you have any desire to drive a car?
I would love to drive a car,
Okay.
but I don't have the capacity to drive a car.
Okay. So you don't believe that due to the damage to the front of your brain, you should not be driving a car?
Correct.
Okay. And why do you think you shouldn't be driving that car?
Because I could kill someone or hurt someone or take away someone else's life, and I can't live with that.
Okay. Is it easy enough for you to get rides with friends or Lyft or Uber?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you really have no need to drive a car of your own.
Correct.
All right, Your Honor, I would like to pass the witness.
Any questions, Mr. Griffith? Oh, you're on mute.
Hitting wrong buttons all over. I have no questions, Your Honor.
Okay, you can call your next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would like to call Joseph Bain.
Okay,
And I'm gonna move to the other side here
okay.
so that Mr. Bain can see and be seen, and here we go, we're all in the picture. Mr. Bain, would you please state your name for the court?
Joseph Van Bain.
And would you spell your name?
Joseph, Joseph, Van, V as in Victor, A as in Apple, N as in Nancy, N as in Nancy. Bain, B as in boy, A as in apple, I as in igloo, N as in Nancy.
Okay. And would you state your address for the court?
601 Samuels Avenue, apartment 301, Fort Worth, Texas, 76102.
Okay. And how long have you known Mr. Farlow?
Like Lee said, we've known each other since 3rd grade.
Okay. And you've been here this entire time. You've heard all the testimony that Mr. Farlow gave.
Yes, that's correct.
You agree substantially with everything he said?
Yes.
Is there any part of anything that he said that you think is incorrect, not completely true, or maybe needs additional explanation?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you a few pointed questions. Do you have examples that you could give the court where you've seen Lee provide food for himself?
I have a restaurant experience. We go eat every now and then with the other 4 friends that he mentioned. And yeah, I've seen him be able to order his own food, know what he wants to eat, and get those items from the wait staff.
Okay. And when he testified, he mentioned something about y'all decide who's going to pay. Can you elaborate on that?
Sometimes, depending on what the situation is, one of us picks up the check as far as myself or our other friends, or sometimes we just split the check in half and we're responsible for our own part of the meal.
Okay. And what about being able to dress appropriately and be groomed appropriately? Do you have any kind of examples about that?
Well, like today, he's in well-kept clothes, clean clothes. Pretty much every time I've seen him, he has stuff on that's clean and pressed or matches.
Okay. Is he
For the weather, for the top of the weather that we're in right now.
okay, perfect. And what about where he lives? Do you believe that the house he's living in is an appropriate place for him?
Yeah.
And why is that?
It's a well-structured house. It's an older house, but it's been well kept, well cleaned, and it's structured well. Good roof above his head and things like that.
Okay. Do you have any concerns or qualms about him wanting to live there, or maybe he should live someplace else that might have more people around him?
Okay, Ms. Link, evidently we have an issue with our court reporter. Well, hold on one second.
Okay.
She's gonna sign on through her computer, so just a few more minutes. If anybody needs to go to the restroom or get a drink, feel free to do so now.
Hey, Bonnie, just to alert you, I'm going to step out for one moment. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Bonnie, are you on an Android or an iPhone?
I am on a MacBook, and I think we're hotspotting through my phone, which is an Apple. The only reason I'm doing that is because yesterday my paralegal, or it was Monday, we tried to run a test. She couldn't even get her laptop to connect through our Wi-Fi here at the office. And I thought, and then we've been having internet issues. And anyway, I just thought this would be best. So I know it's glitching on us, but I think it's better than the alternative. I can't hear you.
Sorry, I am muted and then I forget to unmute. No, I think we're just hearing the notifications coming across your phone. Maybe that's what we're hearing.
Well, it's actually coming across my computer, and I don't know how to turn those off. So like anytime somebody sends me a text, for some reason, it thinks that it's supposed to ding, and I don't know how to make it not ding. Let's see. Maybe I can do it.
Okay, Kristen, can you hear everything?
Yes, it's very quiet, but I can hear.
Okay, well, if everybody will speak up. All right, Ms. Link, go ahead.
Okay. So, Mr. Bain, I think you were telling us about giving us some examples of how you've seen Lee provide food for himself, be appropriately dressed and clothe himself, and that where he lives is appropriate, and you have no concerns about any of that.
Correct.
And do you feel like if he did not have his guardians in place, that he would continue on as he's been doing for, I don't know, at least the last year, 2 years, however many months he's been there?
Yes.
Okay. Now, let's talk about his finances. Do you feel like, I mean, you heard Lee testify that he handles his Social Security. Without his guardianship, and he says he would continue handling his Social Security benefit. Do you have any qualms about him getting into a financial bind or being taken advantage of?
No.
Okay. Do you feel like having a trust, an irrevocable or irrevocable trust, would be a good idea for him?
Yes.
Okay. And would you serve as a trust protector for that trust?
If needed, yes.
Okay. Do you think his sister would be an appropriate person to serve as his trustee? Do you think that Mr. Farlow is capable of handling his money?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I didn't hear an answer to the previous question of do you think his sister would be a good person to serve as trustee, or the question was similar to that.
Yes, you would.
Thank you.
And when you and I had talked back in May, one of the things you mentioned is that really the only thing that's changed about Lee is that he's less athletic. You know, would you elaborate on that comment?
Before his surgery, before that, I met Lee when we were in 3rd grade. We really got closer in high school playing basketball. Started running together. When him and Emily got married, they moved into the same housing addition that we were in. We would run together around the neighborhood, participate in Cowtown races and Mayfest and different things like that. And then after his surgery and the situation that happened because of his surgery, those things were eliminated. He's not, I guess, balanced and has the endurance as he used to.
Okay, but you're talking about, I mean, what, y'all were in your mid to late 20s, early 30s when that was going on?
Mid-20s, well, yeah, mid-20s, early 30s when all of it happened.
Okay. And now, today, Lee's going to be 49.
49.
So, I mean, part of that is just aging, correct?
Well, yes, part of it's aging, even for me. I mean,
Okay.
I'm not running like I used to.
But really, as far as him being different, you feel like his brain injury affected him mostly in his physical abilities?
Yeah.
Okay. And let's talk about his request to be able to have the right to purchase and own a firearm or ammunition. Do you also believe that he only has that restriction on him? He can't have a firearm, he can't own ammunition. He only has that because of his guardianship?
Yes.
Okay. Before his guardianship, he was just like everyone else. As far as you know, he didn't have any reason that he couldn't buy a gun if he wanted to.
Correct.
Okay. And prior to his guardianship, and you've known him a long time, did he have any kind of mental health issues or problems that would make you concerned if he was able to own a firearm?
No.
And what about his criminal history? Do you agree that, you know, beyond the odd traffic ticket, he's pretty straight and narrow and has really no criminal history?
Yes.
Okay. Just make sure you speak up.
Yes.
What would you say Lee's reputation in the community is?
Good, law-abiding citizen. Likes to help his community in forms of, like he said, going to help Meals on Wheels, the food bank. Overall, law-abiding citizen.
Okay. Do you have any reservations about Lee having the ability to purchase a firearm if he wanted to?
No.
Okay. Your Honor, I will pass the witness.
Mr. Griffith, any questions?
Mr. Bain, I have one question. My name's Ross Griffith, by the way, and I represent Carolyn Summers, who's over in the same room with you there, who's the guardian of the estate. You've known Lee for a number of years, you testified. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And how often, though, do you, in the last, say, 5 years, how often do you see him?
In the last 5 years, we tried to get together amongst the other gentlemen that was mentioned in the trust or I guess the trust document. All our friends, we try to get together probably once every 3 months.
I didn't hear that. Once every 3 months?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and so
Once a quarter, we try to get together.
okay, so you've seen him I guess over a period of time, you've had interaction with him on a regular basis.
Yes, sir. I usually talk to him at least once a week by phone.
Okay, that's all my questions, Your Honor.
Okay.
Your Honor, I'd like to call Carolyn Summers
Okay.
to testify. Ms. Summers, would you, I'm going to switch back to the other side. Would you, the music. Would you state your name for the court?
Yes, Carolyn Summers,
And what is your address?
No, well, I wasn't able to stop you earlier. We are live streaming on social media.
Oh, sorry. Do you live here in Tarrant County?
Yes, I do.
Great. Okay, so you've been here the whole time
Yes.
in this room, and you've heard Mr. Farlow testify,
Yes.
and you've heard Mr. Bain testify.
Yes.
And do you agree substantially with everything that they've stated here in the court?
I do.
All right. Is there anything that you feel like needs more information added to it, or is there anything about something? Okay, now let's talk about how you're related to Lee Farlow. Are you
Okay.
his sister?
Link, we didn't hear that. I didn't hear that last question. I heard kind of every other word.
Okay, I'll try to do more like this. How are you related to Lee Farlow?
I'm his sister.
And you heard him, well, do you believe that he needs to have his guardianship continued?
No.
And do you believe that his capacity should be totally and fully restored?
I do.
Now, you realize that means that he will be able to go and do anything he wants to do, just like anyone else,
Yes.
okay? And you heard him testify that he plans to place the money that's currently in his guardianship and that's under your control. He plans to place that into an irrevocable trust should his capacity be restored and his guardianship's closed.
Yes.
Do you agree that that's a good idea? And he said that he would like to serve as his trustee.
Yes.
Do you know of any reason why you should not serve as his trustee?
I do not.
So if you were to serve as his trustee of this trust, what would be your basic plan as the trustee with regards to his trust?
Just to make sure that everything that Lee has and that Lee needs will be there for him until old age.
So would the plan, would it be fair to say now the plan would be to continue to grow his money with an eye towards a retirement? So Lee's birthday is today, correct?
Yes.
And how old will he be?
49.
Okay, so I heard him testify earlier that he lives on his Social Security benefit.
Yes.
Is that true?
Correct.
And you, as his guardian of his estate, do you ever have to make any expenditures for him?
No.
What do you spend money on as the guardian of his estate?
Mainly it is for the yearly accounting, the bond, and attorney's fees.
Do you take a fee as a guardian?
I do not.
If you were his trustee of his trust, would you take a fee?
I would not.
Okay. Now, his trust does not provide that you would have to have a bond.
Yes.
And that would be a savings to his financial situation.
Very much so.
But it would also mean if something happened to the money, bad investment, I don't know, you ran off to Vegas, there's no way to put that money back.
Correct.
Do you realize that if that money's gone, Lee is essentially living below the poverty line?
Yes.
Is that something that you would ever want to see happen?
No.
So you would definitely safeguard, protect, and grow in a reasonable fashion his money.
Yes.
Would you work with a qualified financial advisor and investor to do that?
Yes.
Would you also work with the trust protectors if they wanted to know more about your plans for the trust?
Yes, absolutely.
Do you ever anticipate wanting to step away and not be Lee's trustee?
No.
Do you believe you would ever do anything that would make one of the trust protectors, or at least three of them, feel like you should step down and they wanted to get someone else in?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have a good relationship with all of those men that were named as trust protectors?
Yes, very good.
Now, you heard Eric talk about some specific examples that he had where he's witnessed Lee feed, clothe, and shelter himself. He's witnessed Lee, handle whatever financial matters he needs to handle. Can you give us any examples of where Lee has fed, clothed, or sheltered himself that you can share with the court?
Yes, every time I see him, every time I go to the house is clean, the house is tidy. He's always well taken care of. He had the COVID long hair and the beard for a while, but we took care of that. He takes very good care of himself, all by himself.
Would it be fair to say that the house he lives in looks a lot like a high-end furniture store?
Very much so.
Okay. Now, as far as his physical health, his taking care of himself medically, can you give us some examples, a couple of where you've watched him do that?
When he needs to make a doctor's appointment, he takes care of that himself. All I get is a phone call if I'm available at a certain time to just drive him there. He goes in and takes care of, he goes and I don't go in to see the doctor with him. He takes care of all that himself.
Okay. And what about his medications? Do you ever provide assistance with that?
When he first got out of the hospital a few months ago, I did help him while he was recovering. But since he's moved back home to our parents' house, he does all of his sorting of his medication weekly, and I have no doubt that he gets it right every time.
Okay. And what about his finances? Now, you are the guardian of his estate, but he does manage his Social Security benefit, and we heard him testify that your husband, Brian Summers, is kind of like his bookkeeper, kind of financial management person.
Yes.
Can you give us some examples where you've observed Lee handling his finances, his Social Security benefit appropriately?
Yes, when he moved back to the house, he made sure that, and this was all on his own, he got the banking app. He set that all up with passwords and everything so he could keep an eye on his accounts.
Okay. Now, has he ever come to you as the guardian of his estate and asked you for anything as far as money?
Yeah.
Has he ever come to you and tried to get you to give some of his money to someone else?
Yeah.
Now, we know that your father has passed away, and I'm sorry for that. But your mother is still with us. How involved is she in Lee's life as the guardian of his person?
Due to her illnesses, she has Parkinson's and dementia on top of that. So basically, she is no longer able to help take care of Lee or anything like that, and he doesn't really need her to. So.
Okay. Would it be fair to say that prior to her and your father going into a care facility, that Lee actually did a lot of caretaking of them?
Very much so, yes. He was the one at the house before they moved to Riverside Inn, and he took care of both of them.
Okay. And let's say that the court did find that Lee's capacity is totally restored. Are you confident that he will sign a trust document so that the money in his guardianship estate can be moved right into that trust?
Yes.
And do you have any reason to believe that he would refuse to do that?
I don't.
Okay. So let's talk about the firearms disability. Do you also believe that the only reason Lee is restricted from purchasing or owning a firearm is because of his guardianship?
Yes.
And prior to the guardianship, did he have any mental health issues or problems?
No.
Did he take any medication for mental illness?
No.
And did he have a criminal history beyond the odd traffic ticket?
Yeah.
In your opinion, what is his reputation in the community?
I think it's very good. He helps a lot of people. He does it happily. He's got a lot of good friends in the church, good friends that he knows doing Meals on Wheels. People like that, he's very helpful.
Okay. And do you have any qualms with him having the ability to purchase a firearm?
No.
We talked earlier about do you agree that it was the physical damage to his brain that caused him to need a guardianship?
Yes.
Prior to that physical damage, did he have any mental issues or limitations that you were aware of?
No.
Was he truly, in fact, a stay-at-home dad to 2 small children?
Yes.
Was he a banker prior to being a stay-at-home dad?
He was.
Do you feel like he still understands how careful a person needs to be with their money?
Yes.
Is there anything else that you'd like to tell the court?
No.
Okay. Do you support Lee's request to have his capacity completely restored?
I do.
I'll pass the witness.
Mr. Griffith?
Carolyn, just to clarify, and you in fact do support the application that Lee's made. We started this process or started talking about restoration for Lee a couple of years ago. We've had at least one meeting with yourself and with your parents that were and Lee, all of us at my office. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And so this isn't something that's just come up, but this has gone back maybe a couple years. It's kind of where we kind of started this process. Is that right?
Correct.
That's all my questions, Your Honor.
Anything else, Ms. Link?
No, Your Honor. We have called all of our witnesses and we rest, and I can make a closing statement if the court would like, or we can just rest.
Okay, that is fine. I want to say one thing in case anybody's watching us. When someone's guardian is incapacitated or there's an issue, we actually can't go forward with another guardian. There's been a request for a modification or restoration. However, this court does have assistant court investigators that are master's level social workers that, of course, we make sure that people are okay and are functioning with either a guardian that may or may not be incapacitated or even on their own. So certainly this court looked into Mr. Farlow and his circumstances, given that his mother, who is his guardian of the person, was or may be incapacitated. She definitely is in a facility that has Alzheimer's. But again, the law requires this hearing before we could appoint anyone else. All right, if you would like to make a closing statement, you may.
Okay.
Well, I should ask Mr. Griffiths, do you have any witnesses or anyone you'd like to call?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
Your Honor, I would just like to reiterate that Mr. Farlow is seriously requesting that his capacity be completely restored to him. We have demonstrated through testimony and examples from 3 different people that he is substantially able to provide food, clothing, and shelter for himself, to make personal decisions regarding his residence, and to care for his own physical health. He is also able to handle his own finances and has a plan to handle his the bulk of his finances, which are in his guardianship estate at this time. Mr. Farlow would like to regain all of his rights that he should have under the United States Constitution that are provided to every citizen, merely because we live here and we have achieved the age of 18 years. And also his rights under the Texas Constitution as a resident of the state of Texas who is 18 years of age or older. I believe that and I believe our testimony here has proven that Mr. Farlow was put into a guardianship because his brain was physically damaged. A scalpel pierced his sinus cavity and went into his brain. However, much like when a bone is broken, if it is properly set and cared for and nurtured, it will heal itself and you will regain use of that bone. And I believe that we've seen that here with his brain. His brain has mended itself, it has remapped itself, and he is able to do a lot of the things that he was able to do prior to his surgery and the injury that occurred from it. However, 16 years have gone by, and like all of us, Mr. Farlow has aged, and as we age, we change. So he is not the same person he was prior to his surgery, but he never will be, because he never will be that age again. However, he does have the ability to do everything that any other person is able to do. He knows his limitations. He knows what he knows, and he knows what he doesn't know. And so, Your Honor, we would ask that you restore his capacity completely to him, that you close the guardianship of his person and his estate, and that you also restore his ability to purchase firearms. Thank you.
All right. Anything else? Okay.
We have nothing further.
Okay. I know our attorneys know, but certainly this court, anytime there is a request from any of our wards for a restoration or modification, we take that very seriously. And that's why we appointed Ms. Link as the attorney ad litem for Mr. Farlow. And she has brought this, as she should have, and done a good job. I need to look a little bit more at our statutes. This is a little different case, and there is medical evidence, which is appreciated, and each case is unique. So I need to look at this one a little closer. I can tell you I'm going to grant your alternative relief of modification and close for supports and services, but I need to review some of the restoration so that perhaps I can grant your initial pleading instead of your alternative pleading. So I am going to review that and have an order shortly to all of y'all. And I appreciate you being here and working through the technical difficulties that we are forced into right now.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Y'all are all free to go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And happy birthday.
Thank you.